Most people are afraid of flying for obvious reasons. Turbulence, mechanical failures, storms, the feeling of being trapped thousands of feet above the ground with nowhere to go. But there was one flight where the passengers became afraid of something else entirely, something that should have been impossible, something that, according to official records, never happened. The story begins on an overnight flight crossing the Atlantic Ocean, a routine journey, hundreds of passengers, clear weather, no technical issues, nothing unusual, at least not at first. The plane departed shortly after sunset. People settled into their seats. Movies played on glowing screens. Cabin lights dimmed. Most passengers prepared for a long and uneventful flight. And for the first few hours, that's exactly what it was. Then someone noticed the man in seat 27A. The strange part wasn't that a man was sitting there. The strange part was that nobody remembered seeing him before. Passengers later described a strange feeling when they tried to remember when they first noticed him. It was like trying to remember the exact moment a dream begins. No matter how hard they tried, the memory simply wasn't there. The seat had seemed empty, then somehow it wasn't. The man sat beside the window, motionless, his face partially hidden by darkness, his posture perfectly still. Hour after hour, he remained in the same position, never eating, never drinking, never sleeping, never moving. At first, nobody paid much attention. Long flights create strange impressions. People become tired, their memories blur, small details are easily overlooked. But eventually more passengers began noticing him, and they all noticed the same thing. Something about him felt wrong, not threatening, not aggressive, wrong, like a photograph where one detail doesn't belong. The longer people looked at him, the stronger the feeling became. Several passengers later reported experiencing headaches whenever they stared at Seat 27A for too long. Others described overwhelming anxiety. One person claimed the temperature around the seat seemed colder than the rest of the cabin. Nobody could explain it. As the flight continued across the ocean, unease spread quietly through the aircraft. The man remained perfectly still, watching the darkness beyond the window. Then the first truly strange event occurred. A passenger walking toward the restroom glanced at Seat 27A. The man was there. Seconds later, while returning to his seat, he looked again. The seat appeared empty. Confused, he stopped, looked away, looked back. The man had returned exactly where he had been before. The passenger convinced himself he was tired, but similar stories soon emerged from other travelers. People would look towards seat 27A and swear the man had vanished, only to reappear moments later. Nobody could prove it, yet dozens of passengers experienced the same thing. By the sixth hour of the flight, people had begun talking quietly among themselves. They compared observations, compared memories, compared details, and a disturbing pattern emerged. Nobody remembered seeing the man board the aircraft. Not one person, not the passengers nearby, not the cabin crew, nobody. The realization spread through the cabin like a disease. Every person who noticed him eventually asked the same question: where had he come from? The answer should have been simple. Every passenger on a commercial flight is documented, every ticket is recorded, every seat assignment is tracked. But when flight attendants reviewed the passenger manifest, they discovered something impossible. Seat 27A was unassigned. According to airline records, nobody had purchased the seat, nobody had checked in, nobody was supposed to be sitting there. Yet passengers continued staring at the man by the window, a man who officially did not exist. The aircraft eventually landed without incident. Passengers exited, luggage was collected, people returned to their normal lives. Most assumed the mystery would eventually be explained: a paperwork error, a computer malfunction, a simple misunderstanding. But the real horror didn't begin until after the flight. Weeks later, Online discussions started appearing. Passengers from the flight shared stories, photographs, theories, and every account described the same man, the same face, the same seat, the same impossible presence. Then something strange began happening to the witnesses. Their social media accounts disappeared, employment records vanished, government databases returned no results, medical histories were erased. At first, these incidents seemed unrelated, a technical issue here, a missing file there, but eventually the pattern became impossible to ignore. Every person who strongly remembered the passenger experienced the same thing. Reality itself seemed to be forgetting them. One by one, witnesses vanished from official records, and as months passed, something even worse occurred. Family members began forgetting them too. Parents claimed they never had children. Friends denied ever meeting them. Photographs changed. Names disappeared. Entire lives slowly unraveled, as though existence itself was being rewritten. Years later, an independent journalist became obsessed with the story. He tracked down surviving witnesses, collected evidence, archived documents before they could disappear. The deeper he investigated, the more disturbing the pattern became. Every witness who remembered the passenger eventually vanished from history, not physically, historically. Records erased, memories altered, lives removed. The journalist spent years documenting everything, then one morning he discovered his own records were beginning to disappear. His bank accounts were gone. His identification numbers returned errors. Old photographs no longer contained his image. Friends stopped recognizing him. The process had begun. Terrified, he reviewed the evidence one final time, and that's when he noticed something nobody had seen before. Every photograph taken aboard the flight contained seat 27A, even photographs that weren't aimed at it, even images captured from different parts of the cabin. The seat appeared in every frame, always in the background, always occupied, always watching. The journalist realized something horrifying. The passenger wasn't being forgotten, the passenger was replacing the people who remembered him. Slowly, patiently, one life at a time. The final entry in the journalist's archive was recovered months later. A single sentence written repeatedly across dozens of pages. The same sentence over and over, as though he had been desperately trying not to forget. The sentence read, "Someone is sitting in seat 27A. Today, airline records show no evidence that the flight ever existed. No passenger manifest, no investigation, no witness statements, nothing. Every official record has vanished, only scattered stories remain. Stories shared anonymously online, stories nobody can verify, stories that always end the same way. With a warning that appears again and again from accounts that are deleted shortly afterward, a warning for anyone who hears about seat 27A. Because according to the last surviving witness, the passenger only notices you after you remember him. And now you do.